Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about some strategies for getting yourself out of a panic attack. Like when you feel a panic attack coming on, or you're in the midst of one and you've kind of let it spiral. How to get yourself back out of it. And so these are strategies that worked for me and that I used to get out of them. Everybody's panic attacks or anxiety attacks are different, so you're just going to have to try a lot of different things until you find something that is effective for you. Like I mentioned in my last video, a lot of guides for this suggest breathing exercises, and my panic attacks were always related to physical sensations that I freaked out about and let myself go into this huge spiraling loop about it being like a stroke coming on, or my throat's going to close up, or I'm going to have a heart attack or something like that. So for me, breathing exercises actually made it worse because they made me focus on bodily sensations even more. And so I had a hard time because I had to find my own things to get out of these panic attacks, because the common, really prevalent techniques just didn't work for me. They made it worse. So your anxiety may be different than that, and breathing may work well for you, and I hope it does. But here are some non-breathing tips or strategies, and I've got about, I think, 8 or 9 of them. Yeah, 8 that I'll talk about. So the first thing to get clear about is that you have control over a panic attack. You may not feel like you do, but you do. And basically, the way for me, and for a lot of people that I've talked with, you get triggered by something, and then your brain goes into this loop that spirals and spirals and starts spinning faster and faster, and that's the panic attack because of some trigger. Like, oh, I noticed that my chest felt a little weird there. What if my heart is like not right? And then I just start spiraling into this whole thing about I'm about to have a heart attack, and I just get all worked up about it. You have control of that. You don't have to go on the spiral. And it is extremely hard at first not to, especially because sometimes when you're really new to panic attacks, you don't realize that it's a panic attack starting. You take it seriously. And the first thing to do is to not take it seriously anymore. Take the power away from it. The first thing to do is learn to recognize what it feels like when a panic attack is coming on, and what that's like for you, and how it starts, so that you know, okay, this isn't actually a physical problem with me, or this isn't actually whatever it is that triggers your anxiety. This is anxiety starting that's gotten triggered by something. That is the first step, is realizing that and being able to distinguish those two things. Real threats versus perceived threats that provoke anxiety. So what I recommend for that, and I just want to briefly touch on this, I'll do a whole video on it, is write down what your anxiety feels like. For me, I would start by, there would be like a funny sensation. Maybe my throat would feel a little bit, I would notice my throat or something. You know, after I eat and my throat's like been working or something, and I notice it, and I'm like, oh, is something wrong with my throat? And I start really paying attention to my throat, and then all of a sudden I get freaked out because maybe my throat's closing up. So write down those feelings. Write down what time of day it is when you get the anxiety. Is it something that somebody said, or is it something that you thought about? Write down so that you can start to identify a pattern. Okay, enough about that. I'll get into the techniques now. The number one most important thing for me, again, this is all in my case, and so try it out. The number one thing for me is that I as soon as you notice a panic attack coming on, change your physical posture, your physical environment. If you're laying in bed, get up, turn the light on, go in another room. Do what, if you're, sitting, then, sit in a different, if you can't get up, sit in a different way. Maybe if you're like in class or something and you really can't leave, get up and go to the bathroom. You can always go to the bathroom. They can't not let you do that. One time I had an anxiety attack in like this really big, important business meeting, or it was like the start of one, and I could not leave. I was like in the middle of a presentation, and I'm actually going to write that one down so I don't forget, but I'm going to talk about it later because it's kind of minor. So change whatever you can change about your physical situation at that moment. And that at a basic level, that is because our emotions and our psychology is so linked to our physical body, way beyond what we typically think of. We typically see, head and then body, but it's all connected. And so if you need to change something about your psychological state, the easiest and fastest thing to do is change something about your physical state. Okay. The next thing that was extremely effective for me is doing like really benign tasks that involved like, it really wasn't that, like doing the dishes. So if I'm having a panic attack at night or something, one's starting, first thing is I get up, and then I would like go in the kitchen and do the dishes. And that is not a very engaging task, but for me it was enough thinking about something else and connecting my mind to my body and the movements that I was doing and putting it in the dishwasher and scrubbing it. That was enough mental stimulation to get my mind off of the anxiety. For some people, you may need more than that. But like, go in the other room and clean something up. Like there's any number of things that you could do. And sometimes the process of just getting up and walking into the other room is enough to like kind of stop it. You just need to immediately, as soon as you notice it's starting, stop it, because the longer you let it go on, the more power it's going to generate. So the next thing that was extremely helpful is going outside. I can't emphasize enough, during this whole process, go outside as much as you can. It's really important, and it will help you a lot. But for me, just getting up and going outside and standing on my porch was really helpful. It kind of gets you out of your head and like re-grounds you and reorients you in the fact that you are in a place that exists and life around you is okay and going on is normal, and it kind of gets you out of your head a little bit. A lot of my anxiety would start at night, so I couldn't really like go on a walk at night, or I mean I could, but I didn't like to walk around by myself at night like that. But if you're having them during the day, go on a walk. When I've had day panic attacks, that has definitely been helpful. And another thing about that is like something about when it would be winter and the air was cooler than my body temperature and I would breathe in that cool air. That was really effective to me. I mean, I never tried it with refrigerator air, but that might give you the same effect. It was just, there's something soothing about that. So these two are kind of maybe effective for you. I would sometimes journal my thoughts and journal what was bothering me, or draw random things, or like maybe even just like squiggles. a lot of this has to do with that mind-body connection. Get your brain talking to your body instead of just going on this anxiety journey in your mind, because that's the kind of what panic attacks are. It's just like you're just spiraling up here, and you want to do whatever you can to get out of your head and just into your body and into the world again. So another one is watching videos, like on your phone or something. I don't recommend anything too. I would never watch like videos on about panic attacks. I would always watch like SNL clips. That's just because I love comedy, and I found it really helpful to like watch like stupid comedy videos on my phone, and then you get yourself laughing. If you can manage to start laughing, then your panic attack can't trump laughter, I think. That's my opinion. And so another tip that is basically the same as that is laugh. And that sounds stupid to just like start laughing, but if you just start fake laughing, then fake laughing will like eventually make you actually laugh, and like that is like very powerful. I don't know enough about brain chemistry to tell you like what it triggers in your head, but it's really hard for panic attack to stand up against laughter. And also smile. I doubt that if you're having a panic attack or if you have them, that you smile during them. But like, if you just put a big old smile on your face, force yourself to, it changes something chemically within you. Try it. It may or may not work. Another one that I kind of developed later on is like looking at myself in the mirror. Something about that, like, it's like, all right, this is, let's like, just like being able to look in my own eyes and see that I'm normal. Like, I'm the same person I am normally, and there's nothing wrong with me. Like, I can just, like, I can see myself, and it kind of steadies me. Again, I think it's like it's like pulling you out of your head. And then this is not really like so much of technique, but it helps, is like, I've talked about like my anxiety being body related. And it was always that I was gonna die. Like, maybe my chest was gonna like collapse or something, and I wasn't, or like something was gonna become obstructing my breathing or something like that. Something that was been effective is just telling myself, hey, you haven't died yet. Like, you've had this little anxiety episode trying to carry on for the past 30 minutes or something, and if you were gonna die, you would already died. Like, if you were gonna have a heart attack, you would have already had a heart attack. Like, you're not dead yet. Like, get a grip. Maybe that's not actually true, and like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know like between the onset of weird feelings in your chest and then when a heart attack actually happens. But I was never gonna have a heart attack anyway. I mean, it's purely anxiety. There's nothing medical or physical about it. But yeah, saying to myself, all right, haven't died yet. Can I make another 5 minutes? Yes, I can. I mean, I've had so many anxiety attacks, and I'm still alive. So that may or may not, yeah. If you have health-related anxiety, that might be helpful. Okay, so this is the last one, which is what I was going to mention in the meeting that when I was in this big important meeting. There was no way I could leave, and so I had to find a way to give myself like a stimulating task to basically stop the anxiety. And I haven't done this in forever, but what I basically did was I had my hands under the table, and I had them kind of like this, and my fingers close together, and I would basically just try to touch the opposite finger, like, I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes, but like I would try to touch this finger, like on my one hand goes this way, another hand goes, my thumb on the opposite hand goes this way, so it's like that, and then that, and then that, and like, just like, it doesn't have to be that, but whatever you can do to find yourself like a coordination exercise that you, with maybe your hands, because that's pretty readily accessible to you under the table, but like something to like try to work on, like a little coordination puzzle for yourself, is going to hopefully give you enough stimulation and get you thinking, again, that mind-body connection, just enough to kind of keep it at bay until you can get out of whatever situation you're in. Yeah, so I haven't used that one terribly often, but in cases when I couldn't leave and I was starting to feel anxiety, I did use that, and it was effective for me. I guess one last thing that has worked sometimes is like eating something. Again, because my anxiety was so physically related, a lot of times eating something made it worse, because then I would get a new trigger that maybe I was going to become spontaneously allergic to whatever I just ate. Like if I ate like a little coconut treat or something, like thing, oh well, a lot of people are allergic to tree nuts. Like what if I suddenly become allergic to coconut? I mean, talking about it sounds so ridiculous, but it's very real in the moment, and I'm sure if you're going through panic attacks right now, you know what I'm talking about, that it's totally absurd, but in the moment it's very hard to not go down that spiral. So, yeah, that's all. I hope that helped, just to get you out of the heat of the moment. Ultimately, you want to work on, once you get to where you can manage your panic attacks, to where it's not like something that you live in fear of, and really not being able to manage that is the only reason you should fear them. Like once you know how to effectively like disarm a panic attack, you should be able, I mean, like, they're always uncomfortable and nobody wants to have them, but you know you're going to be okay. You know how to deal with it. So you want to just try all kinds of techniques and do whatever you can to, like, figure out effective ways to manage your symptoms in your anxiety coming on. And then maybe even write it down and make a list of it. And maybe as part of that journal where you write down the triggers, write down the things that helped. And so you can start to build like a repertoire of techniques and solutions that to use when you're in that moment and you're really freaking out. So that's all for this, and I'm gonna also make another video that talks about how to actually, once you get your panic attacks stabilized, how to work through them. So yeah, I hope this helped.